Hi, I'm Erin Lockwood, and this is my loving hubby, Phil. We've spent the past 2 years doing everything possible to get our kids out of the classroom and into the world. Our near-constant travels have taken us around the globe in search of a better education, deeper cultural immersion, and more meaningful family experiences. To ring in the new year, we decided to squeeze in an impromptu Disney cruise as a surprise for our kids. Although COVID is still very much a consideration, the world's favorite brand has deemed it safe to relaunch its fleet with enhanced safety protocols. So we're taking them up on the opportunity to sail from Galveston, Texas to Cozumel, Mexico. But will this voyage still deliver on that famous Disney magic? Or has the pandemic turned Disney cruising into a ghost town that's dead in the water?
Here we are at Denver International Airport, and we're headed to Houston, and then we're heading to Galveston with Brooklyn and Colt. But of course, as always, we decided to take a little detour, hit the American Express Centurion Lounge and enjoy some free food, free champagne, and some free Wi-Fi. But here's the thing. Our trip actually is not Galveston. We're only gonna be there until tomorrow when we embark on a Disney cruise. And this is gonna be our second Disney cruise, but here's the key. One thing we learned that time is that you gotta wait until the very last minute to let them know where we're going, and that's why we're off around a corner right now. We don't want them to hear where we're going. So the first time we did this, we never even told them what we were going to do, that we were actually going on a Disney cruise. They literally found out in the last possible minute as we pulled up to the ship.
Oh, is this the Disney cruise ship? Why are we here?
That is a Disney cruise ship.
I want to go on the Disney cruise ship, really. It's so fun. It's on the commercial. You got to see lots of characters. Mickey, Pluto, and like princesses. I want to go to the Disney cruise ship.
We're going on the cruise ship.
And make you stop doing the video.
Are we going on the cruise ship?
We're going on the Disney cruise ship. We said that at the same time, Chip. Yeah,
do you think so? We're going on a Disney cruise.
Yeah!
So with all the travels we've been doing all around the world, some of these being very cultural for us, we decided to reward them with a Disney cruise because we know how fun this is going to be for them. Now Reagan couldn't make it because she's doing her in-person high school thing, so she opted out of this particular trip. But Brooklyn and Colt are completely in the dark on what's going on, and they won't know what we're doing until we pull up to the ship tomorrow.
We have an additional surprise for the kids. At the beginning of 2021, we decided to be Loyal United Flyers. So we went from 0 status to silver to gold to platinum and now 1K. One of the many benefits is constant upgrades, and this will be a first experience for the kids. So let's head out of here and see what it is.
By the way, our Centurion Lounge access is one of the many benefits we get from our American Express Business Platinum card. Our annual fee is more than covered by our free food and drinks alone. Since we don't have a United Mileage Plus card, we rarely have access to the United clubs, but let us know in the comments which you think is best.
This is great. This is you.
And find row 6.
Wait, row 6?
Yeah, it's probably way in the back.
No,
It's
right
here.
here.
This is your seat.
Oh my god! That's cozy. Hey, these are so big. Look at it, it's so big.
I'd say they're just as stoked as we would expect because this is a pretty epic experience for kids at this age. It's also over the top, this is not normal, but again, one of the many benefits that we get by flying with United all the time. So we'll see you in a couple of hours when we hit Houston.
I know it's hard for you to give it a try, but you are not.
Foreshadowing.
I'm here with you. I think you owe it to this beautiful night to lose all your control.
The car ride from George Bush to our place here in Galveston Island was legitimately as long as the flight from Denver to Houston. But we're here now, we're gonna check into our hotel, and since this has nothing to do with why you're watching this episode, we won't bore you with any of this, but check back in with us tomorrow morning when we head off for our cruise. But now it's showtime, and we're waiting for a cab to pick us up from the hotel here and take us out to the dock so that we can get on the cruise ship. The big question in my mind is how long it's going to take the kids to figure it out this time. I'm guessing that they're going to figure it out long before we get to the ship, but we're gonna try to make it drag out as long as we possibly can.
I am so excited. I cannot wait to see their faces and see how they react when they find out what we're really doing on this trip. On a what?
We're not. Wait, actually? This is so much better than the book, and that's saying a lot. Wait, actually?
Actually, bud,
We're actually going on a cruise.
we're going on a cruise. What kind of cruise is it?
Disney?
A Disney cruise. Your daddy and I wanted to do this special trip for you guys because we know you have been such troopers going around the world with us, and most importantly, you guys have had appreciation for the kind of life we've been living, and that means everything to us. I'm getting a little teary, but we love you and we wanted to say thank you. So the big surprise is over, but now typical Disney fashion, a lot of lines.
We're gonna be on the Disney cruise ship Wonder, and all we're doing is 4 nights down to Cozumel, Mexico and back. So it's gonna be a very simple cruise. This is a nearly identical ship to the one we did last time, which was the Disney Magic, and it's one of their 2 smaller cruise ships. First thing we have to do is all get tested for COVID. COVID check, check. Security check. Now we have to wait about 30 or 40 minutes in this area for all of our results to come back, and then hopefully we get to get on the ship.
Man, that's a lot of hoops to jump through. Boy number 7.
It's been about an hour and a half since we got here, and it's almost official. Okay, we're all checked in. All we have to do now is wait about a half an hour until our room is ready. So what we're gonna do is go grab some lunch because these kids are hungry. Tiana's Place is the Princess and the Frog themed restaurant, serving a varied cuisine that includes Creole and Cajun. We're gonna kick things off with a little Moet Ice. This is actually where we discovered Moet Ice, was on our previous Disney cruise. By the way, booze is not included. It's not an all-inclusive cruise, so we pay separately for this. Cheers.
We gotta check out our room first and drop off our backpacks and bags, and then the kids really wanna go to the kids club, so we're gonna head there lickety-split. They actually have 2 kids clubs. One is the Oceaneers Club and one is Oceaneers Lab. So now that it's COVID, we can't just drop them off and pick them up whenever we want. We have to make reservations. And we're going to drop them off at the lab and pick them up at the club. We made 2 reservations tonight because I have a football game to watch later today.
Let's have a look at our stateroom. Hey guys. So what is this, babe? Like a 4-person suite?
Actually, it's a 5-person suite. This is a bunk bed up here that comes down, and I think this comes out to be either a full or a queen. So they come while we're eating dinner, and they use their special key, and they bring the bunk bed down. And there's even a ladder in the closet.
And the table goes out of the way. You got a desk area right over here. TV, quite a bit of storage, including under the bed for the suitcases. This one's a queen. And then over here are the 2 toilet areas, or bathroom areas, I should say. So this one has a bathtub shower and the sink, and this one's the toilet area, also with a sink. Looks like Erin is setting this one up for the kids to use for a sink, and then the other one is set up for us to use. What else do we have? All right, so more room to hang up plenty of things, all of our life jackets, and then we got a safe down here. More drawers right off to the side for little things. So there are a million different places you can store stuff. Oh, also, privacy curtains. And let's take a look outside. Our room actually has a pretty good veranda, so we can actually step out and then look over the edge and enjoy all the views the entire time. A lot of the rooms have just a big window, and then there are the interior rooms that don't have any of this. So we're pretty lucky to have this one. One of my favorite things about a Disney cruise is that our kids have another place to play on their tablets. Okay, I think that's enough of the stateroom, so let's go explore more of this ship. We headed to the upper deck for a quick lay of the land, getting familiar with the outdoor lounges, pools, and play areas that would be our only outdoor respite for the next 2 days we'd spend at sea. But as soon as it was time to set sail, we headed starboard to wave goodbye and enjoy the inspiring views as we entered the Gulf.
Go to the top.
Dozens of dolphins even came out to bid us farewell. Our previous Disney cruise included a huge bon voyage party on the upper deck, but maybe because of COVID, there was no such celebration this year. Then it was time for our first dinner, and we were scheduled for Animator's Palette. The crew operates mealtime on a rotational dining schedule. Every night, you and your assigned waitstaff rotate between the 3 restaurants. Having the same servers throughout the voyage really helps ensure great service at every dinner. There are 2 dinner seatings every night, at approximately 5:45 for the main seating and 8:15 for the second seating. This restaurant fuses Pacific Island foods, Asian cooking, and fresh California fare, and it's amidst a colorful backdrop that celebrates the art of storytelling, with Disney characters evolving from sketch to final form as you eat. And we got to watch our kids debunk the nightly magic tricks performed by our entertaining server. Then we dropped Brooklyn and Colt at the kids club so we could hit the after hours wing for a little adult time. Unfortunately, Azure was essentially closed for this voyage, and Crown and Fin Pub was basically a ghost town. So we chose to chill nightly at the Cadillac Lounge, which was still pretty empty, but with its custom interior design and live music from a very talented singer and pianist, it was an enjoyable atmosphere for some upscale cocktails and conversation. We could have soaked in these sights and sounds until the wee hours when they actually close, but Brooklyn and Colt tired of the empty kids clubs early enough that we had to cut most of our evenings short. Well, it is 9 a.m. on our first full day at sea, and we're about halfway to Cozumel. Kids wanted to swim in the pool, so we're letting them swim in the pool, enjoy the water slides, and we're gonna sit down here and we're gonna find an excursion for when we get to Cozumel tomorrow.
I'm reading about it. It's a stunt boat. I've always wanted to do one of these. We see them in Coronado all the time. It does like spins and twists and blast off on the Twister stunt boat as you rip across the waves on an exciting ride to the relaxing Paradise Island. I think the kids will get a kick out of it.
So there are about 20 excursions to choose from, but not all of them are completely open right now, and there are different prices, different times. And the reason we have to do an excursion right now is because the kids are not fully vaccinated. They've only been able to get their first vaccination so far, so they're not considered vaccinated, and therefore we would have a problem if we all went into Cozumel and came back. They wouldn't really let us on the ship. So the only option that we have is to do one of these Disney excursions so that we know that we're going to be only amongst other cruise passengers. So we've just got to figure out through here which one we want to do and then try to book it through the app, make sure they have room. So that's our big assignment for this morning.
I think we should do this speedboat, the Twister. It'll be a thrill. The kids are going to love it, and we haven't done it before. So when you're faced with the options, do what you haven't done yet.
I actually really like this Disney app. Number one, it's really well designed, but it's also like your only internet fix, essentially, your screen time fix, because internet's kind of a problem on the ship. But it's cool to look through here because it's so easy to fall into this trap of feeling like the only things you can do on the ship are the things that you see when you walk by, like playing at the pool or grabbing food or seeing the Disney characters who are walking around. But there's actually like 150 events on any given day, and you can just scroll through and see the entire schedule for everything. There's a lot of family-friendly stuff, obviously. Origami, learn how to animate Disney characters, stuff like that. But there's also a lot of adult-friendly stuff, like tequila tasting, martini tasting, whiskey tastings. There are happy hours all the time at the lounges around the ship. And of course there are the films in the 2 Disney theaters that are on the ship. And these are first-run films in a lot of cases. But the reason internet is a problem on the ship is because all of these cruise ships have to go with satellite internet, which is very limited and it's also very expensive. So we signed up yesterday for their biggest package. It's the one you're supposed to be able to share with your family. It's 1,000 megabytes or 1 gigabyte. And we did this at about 5:30 p.m. And by 10 p.m. we had sucked through 90% of that package without doing anything. So literally, just the amount of data that was required for all of our constantly connected apps to do their back and forth pinging. We didn't watch any videos, we didn't download anything, we didn't FaceTime. I mean, it was literally just sitting there doing its push-pull, and we went through almost $100 in Wi-Fi fees. So it's extremely expensive, and even if you're willing to pay it, you're not going to get a whole lot out of it. So far today, we haven't even signed up for a new package because we don't want to blow through it doing nothing. I would recommend just waiting until you actually need to do something online, like FaceTime family or get some work done, sign up for it, and then use it. And make sure you log out after every session so it stops using your bandwidth.
While we lounged next to the sea, the kids made good use of the water slide, and since there were no crowds, it was easy to squeeze in a few dozen trips up and down. Whenever we needed refreshment, there were plenty of on-deck options like the healthier plates at Daisy's, Pete's for burgers and dogs, Pinocchio's Pizzeria, Sully's Beverage Bar, the always popular with kids Ice Cream Bar, and one of our personal favorites, Signals Bar, which is part of the adults-only Quiet Cove section. You could also head inside for the Cabana Buffet and the French Quarter Lounge, though we felt like the latter was missing something. Oh, right, people. Throughout the cruise, it often felt like we were the only passengers on board, one exception being our subsequent high-energy themed dinner at Tiana's. But the next morning, it was time to take our Twister speedboat to a remote Cozumel beach. Although it's kind of a cool experience, we didn't see many kids enjoying themselves, and that included ours. I guess it's something about repeated face soakings with salt water that some just find uncomfortable. The island experience was much more laid back, and while it's certainly not what we would have done if we could have taken our kids into town, it was a pretty setting that allowed them to stretch their legs and their backs for a few hours. And unlike being on board, the dining areas here had no shortage of guests. A served buffet lunch was part of the excursion, but for the record, the cocktails were some of the worst you're likely to find anywhere in Mexico. Best to save those calories for when you're back on the ship. By the end of our time on the beach, everyone was content and relaxed. Until... one of the most unique dining experiences, and one that falls outside of the all-inclusive rotational dining program, is Palo. This adults-only restaurant is located on the aft deck and has great views until it gets dark. We've eaten at many of the best restaurants in the world, and Palo's Northern Italian cuisine really holds its own. Its dress code, sophisticated interior, 5-star waitstaff, impressive wine list, and flawless dishes make zero compromises, despite the fact that this is a family-friendly Disney theme ship. But be prepared to pay for this experience, especially if you opt for multiple appetizer, entree, and dessert courses, or a bottle of wine or two. Fun fact, if you don't finish an entire bottle, they'll cork it and bring it to your dinner table at your next restaurant the following evening. Our final morning at sea started like every other, with a buffet breakfast at Cabanas. This is the quintessential buffet with endless options for sweet, savory, fresh, and processed. But after another full day of water slides, Cinepools, and watching the beautiful blue waters pass us by, we hit Triton's to finish up our rotation of dinner options over some continental cuisine with a French flair. And with a character performance that toasted the end of our voyage, we reflected on the experience of cruising during COVID. The best part of this cruise was the crew, hands down. Considering the challenges that COVID has put on their jobs and their lives, they still do a really solid job of delivering as much passion as can be expected. But almost every other part of the voyage was disappointing to some degree. We completely support the masking and social distancing rules that need to be in place, but you can't argue that things like an inability to visit the town at port, or even to step away from your group for a few seconds, as well as forced distancing from all characters, canceled and closed facilities, services, experiences, and parties, and the extra half hour it took to check in, all feel a lot different than our cruise did in 2018. And unless you're the kind of person who would enjoy dining in an empty restaurant, attending a party with only a few guests, or lounging at a nightclub by yourself, you're probably going to feel like this cruise is missing too much of the social energy you expect from a social experience. This was especially true for Brooklyn and Colt, who got bored easily in the kids' clubs with only a handful of other kids to play with, which meant that we had less adults-only time each night. In other words, even though the cruise had most of the parts in place, it really felt like it was missing that famous Disney magic. So, would we recommend a Disney cruise in 2022? At this point, not a chance. There are too many alternatives that don't involve packing a bunch of people into a cramped vessel that requires compromises to keep people healthy. Personally, we're returning to the sprawling and luxurious experiences that are part of our Inspirato membership. If you want to hear more about that, visit followabc.com/pass, or just subscribe to our YouTube channel below and you can come along for the ride. If you found this episode valuable, please consider liking and commenting below. Apparently, YouTube loves that sort of thing.
2 years ago, we decided it was time for my ad agency to abandon the in-person 5-day work week. So we 86'd our office and work hours, allowing our own family of 5 to start traveling almost constantly.
We now work, school, and explore in a new place every week. From our own mountain and beach homes to exotic villas, resorts, and yachts around the world. As we experience and support diverse cultures, we hope to inspire more families to design a life of freedom and adventure.
Because there's a new American dream. It's one that's void of templated expectations, templated career paths, templated education, templated families, templated homes, and templated lives. Freedom's no longer American tagline, it's just the new global way of life.
Every day that you spend doing something that doesn't fulfill you to your core, you're living your life on pause. You're deferring genuine family time with no guarantee that there will be a tomorrow or a someday. Some people follow that mentality their entire lives. We've chosen to never live that way again.
We appreciate you following our journey. The more our channel grows, the more time we can spend traveling to more locations, contributing to these cultures, highlighting local businesses, and sharing inspiring stories from these communities.
So please consider liking, commenting, and subscribing so that you can stick with us for the long haul.
Here we are at Denver International Airport, and as all, Here we are at Denver International, I'm drunk already.